Have you ever felt guilty for saying no? Have you ever helped people until you were exhausted only to realize they didn't care at all? There is a painful truth kind people often learn too late. Kindness without boundaries doesn't make you noble, it makes you vulnerable. This is the story of a man who learned that lesson the hard way. Once, in a small town surrounded by quiet streets and familiar faces, lived a man named Samuel. Samuel was known as the nicest man anyone had ever met. He never refused a request, never ignored a call. He never turned his back on anyone. If someone needed help moving, Samuel was there. If someone needed a little money, Samuel gave it. If someone needed emotional support, Samuel would listen for hours on end. People always said Samuel is such a good man, and Samuel truly believed that being good was his purpose in life. But every night, when the town fell silent and the world went to sleep, Samuel felt something heavy inside him. He was tired, not just physically tired, but emotionally drained. One evening, his sister looked at him with concern and said, "You look exhausted." Samuel just smiled weakly. "I'm fine," he replied. "Helping people makes me happy." But deep down, he knew it didn't anymore. One morning, Samuel's coworker, Mark, called him. "Hey, I need you to cover my shift today," Mark said bluntly. "I'm just too tired." Samuel had already worked 6 days straight. His body was screaming for rest. But still, the word that came out of his mouth was, "Okay." That same week, another coworker asked for a similar favor. Then another. Then another. There was no thank you, no appreciation. Just a silent expectation that Samuel would always be there. When Samuel finally hesitated just once, someone remarked, "Wow, you've changed." That one sentence hurt more than all the exhausting work combined. A few days later, a neighbor knocked on his door. "Samuel, can you lend me some money? I'll return it soon, I promise." Samuel had lent this same neighbor money twice before. It never came back. Still, Samuel handed over the cash. Weeks passed. Nothing. When Samuel politely asked about it, the neighbor frowned. "Why are you counting money like that? I thought you were a good person." That moment broke something inside Samuel. He helped, sacrificed, and now, somehow, he was the bad guy. Didn't make any sense. At a community meeting soon after, people were discussing how to organize an event. Someone laughed and said, "Oh, Samuel will handle it. He always does." Everyone nodded in agreement. No one even bothered to ask Samuel. They didn't need to. In their minds, they had already decided for him. Samuel sat there quietly, his chest feeling tight, a knot forming in his stomach. That night, he walked alone through the empty streets and sat on a park bench under the dim streetlights. An elderly man came and sat beside him. He looked at Samuel and said calmly, "You look like someone who gives too much." Samuel looked up, startled. How do you know?" he asked. The old man smiled gently. "Because I used to be just like you." Samuel let out a long sigh. "I thought being kind would protect me," he admitted. "But it feels like people just take and take." The old man nodded knowingly. "Kindness without wisdom is not kindness," he said. "It's self-betrayal." Samuel frowned, confused. "So I should stop being good?" "No," the man replied. "You should stop being so available to everyone all the time," he continued. "When you say yes to everything, your yes loses all its value. When you never say no, people stop respecting you. They just start expecting you." Those words hit Samuel like a tidal wave. They resonated deep within him. The very next morning, Mark called again. "Can you cover my shift?" he asked, his voice casual. Samuel paused. He took a deep breath, and then he said it. The word he was so afraid of. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. "What?" Mark finally snapped. "You're being selfish." Samuel breathed calmly. "I'm being honest." He ended the call. His hands were shaking. But for the first time in a long, long time, his chest felt lighter. Slowly, day by day, Samuel began to change. He still helped people, but only when it was fair. Only when his help was respected. Some people got angry. Some even walked away from his life completely. But something unexpected and wonderful happened. The people who stayed, they started treating him better. They thanked him. They respected his time. Even started offering to help him in return. One day, a young woman approached him. I need a little help, she said. But I completely understand if you can't. And if you can, I'll find a way to return the favor. Samuel smiled. That felt different. That felt right. Months later, Samuel realized something powerful. Being a good person doesn't mean being a weak person. It means being selective with your energy. Real kindness has boundaries. Real goodness protects itself. And Samuel was still a kind man. He was just no longer a victim of his own heart. If you are the one who always helps, the one who always gives, the one who always sacrifices, please hear this. You are not selfish for setting boundaries. You are not cold for saying no. You are not a bad person for protecting your own peace. One person who respects your kindness is worth more than 100 who exploit it. Be kind, but above all, be wise. Thank you so much for watching. If this story resonated with you, please consider subscribing for more content like this. Take care of yourselves.